Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. My name is Gab.
My name is Dylan.
I was not expecting that.
My name is Jeff.
Wait, actually, recently at work, I made some really dumb, recently, this was a couple of weeks ago, I made some really dumb comment where we were having a meeting and somebody was going to read something. And I was like, but you have to read it in the Mario voice. And like, it's a me, Gab. And you kind of did that. So thank you. This is
We are having us some layoffs at work now. I'm sorry. Pack your things and go.
That is fucking way too close to home.
There will be no severance. Do, 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 do.
Oh my God, if you only knew.
Oh, no.
All right. Welcome to the Movies to Watch Before You Die podcast. My name is Gab. This is Dylan. And
Still
we
Dylan.
are here to still Dylan. It's a me. And we are here to talk about a movie that may or may not be one to watch before you die. As a former actress, I believe that I have a very good understanding of character development, script analysis, and all the things that go along with a good performance.
And I'm a former video editor, but more than anything, I just like watching movies lots, and I hope you do too. And hopefully you'll like the movies that we like too.
So that was how very Barney of you. We are
Barney was great. Barney was great.
Do you remember the life-size Barney that I had? That like 6 foot tall Barney?
Vaguely, yes. I recently found out that Giselle not only was a huge Barney fan, and I hope she's okay with me just blowing up her spot on the podcast, but she literally like knows words to songs from Barney still. Like knows like the whole thing to some of these. I was like, holy cow, like I barely remember the main theme.
Yeah, but I was expecting something way juicier than that. I thought you were going to be like, she had the hots for Barney and she tried to look up the actor when she got I thought this was going to be
what's
good.
going on with you? No. Nobody's into Barney sexually.
The way you prefaced it made it sound like it was going to be embarrassing. If she knows some lyrics to some songs, okay, that's cool. I know every lyric to every Phineas and Ferb song.
Well, I'm sure you've seen that more recently than Barney.
I suppose that's true.
Yes,
anyway,
but we're not talking about Barney. What are we talking about, Gab? What the heck are we talking about?
So you're asking me. You're the one that wanted to do this late in the evening. Today, we are going to be talking about a movie that I chose as a potential movie to watch before you die, and that is Black Swan. Dylan, why don't you first of all tell, because I want to say that this movie was 2010, but I'm now a little bit nervous. So why don't you tell the people when this movie came out and what it's all about?
So the movie is 2010. You are right on that.
Phew.
Which I was like, brain fart for a second. But let's get to our segment. What's the plot, Gab? So that I can tell the people what the plot is.
Sorry.
What's this all been about? What am I working toward?
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
I bet you're bottom. I bloody well ought to.
Okay, we're there. We're here. Okay. So the plot that I would say, and I feel like it moves very quickly. It moves very quickly through events, yet sometimes, well, I don't need to talk about pacing or anything like that. Nina is a ballet dancer who wants the lead in Black Swan, and by God, she is willing to do whatever it takes to get it. And she is dealing with a competitor in Lily, and she is dealing with a pretty gross coach named Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
Like his name's Thomas, but he's like Thomas.
Yeah, he is French, so he goes by Thomas.
It's Thomas. They should call him Tom.
They should.
Like Tom Brady, who, if you know me, you know that I love. Okay. So, I don't know if you have it, but I have it pulled up. Should I read the IMDb plot summary?
Please.
So, what IMDb would call it is a committed dancer struggles to maintain her sanity after winning the lead role in a production of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake. The tagline, I just want to be perfect.
Right. So for anybody who's familiar with Swan Lake, which is a very overdone ballet, the idea is that there is a white swan and a black swan. They are typically danced by two different dancers. The white swan represents innocence. The black swan represents lust. And in this particular instance, this ballet company is having one dancer dance both the black and the white swan. So Nina, who is perfect for the white swan, she's very meek and mild and graceful, is selected for the role, but struggles to really embody the very sexual and darker role of the black swan. And her competitor is sort of the opposite. She's a really, really great black swan, and does run the risk of taking the role away from Nina.
Yes. So I guess should we get to our opinions now, and so we can further describe the film?
Yeah. Let's do that.
In this critic's opinion,
That's just like your opinion, man.
Well, I have a right to my opinion, and my opinion is you have no right to your opinion.
So, spoilers, of course, as usual.
Yes. Spoilers for the whole shebang. So if you haven't seen this, go watch it and come back to this. Please come back.
Please, our
please,
families are
come on.
starving.
There's only like 4 of you. Come on.
I
come
didn't
back.
get severance. Please.
do, 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 do. Okay.
So
you just watched Black Swan. I hope you liked it. Okay.
So let me go first because I'm afraid that my opinion is going to be swayed by yours. So let me get this out in the open. When I was a freshman in college, which is the reason I remember it being 2010, I went to see this movie. My roommate, Nicole, who I've brought up on previous podcasts, she was a dance major. I was an acting major. We went to see this movie. We were both excited about it for different reasons. And as we've discussed in the Vampire's Kiss episode, I guess I'm not great at really understanding what is to be taken literally and what is not, because I do vaguely remember being 18 or 19 and thinking that she was really turning into a swan. So upon rewatch, I was pleasantly surprised to understand that there was more of a nuance to it. I remember thinking that Mila Kunis was absolutely incredible. I remember thinking that it was a really good representation of what it's like to be an artist and to have your career based on very subjective lines. However, upon rewatching, I don't think it really lived up to how incredibly moved I was by it the first time. Now, that said, I was moved by it and I was like, is she really turning into a bird? So I definitely feel like a smarter viewer now. But yeah, I thought it was good. I think it represented a very small slice of what it's like to be an artist, but I don't think I really was as engulfed as I was the first time.
First of all, I know I brought it up a couple weeks ago, but it makes me so upset you still don't watch It's Always Sunny, because watching this movie made me think of it, because they constantly call the female lead D. They constantly go, D's a bird, and they make fun of her and call her a bird. And so I just kept thinking, Nina's a bird. Like,
that's so funny.
But I think there's a thing that seems to happen a lot of the times when award season comes around, that the films that often are given the most highest regards, the most rewards, have these brilliant subtextual messages. I know an example that you love is Birdman, which is a movie that is all about the important subtext underneath about being an artist and about the film industry. And I see the subtext in this movie, and I see the subtext that you can read about coming of age, about obsession, about artistry. And while I can see all of that, what I hate that happens is they'll award the film based on that, but not based on textually how clean the story is. Because I feel when you're just looking at this from a surface level, say I was an idiot, Gab, which debatably you may. If I were an idiot, you got me. If I were an idiot,
you set me up.
And you did not spike that over the line. Doesn't matter. If I were somebody who didn't at all see the messaging underneath about innocence, obsession, artistry, maturity, anything like that, it's just a movie where she gets the part, she totally loses her mind, and she maybe dies. And I felt like it simultaneously moved very quickly through things, and at the same time it felt like very little was happening, because I was like, okay, practice, okay, another practice, okay, another practice. And then at the same time I was like, oh, it doesn't feel like enough practices for the show to be tonight already. And it just, subtextually I really liked it, and textually I really didn't. And Darren Aronofsky, he's one of those filmmakers who, now that I think about him, Darren Aronofsky directed the film, there are a lot of movies he does that I feel like are similar to this. And a movie that is very similar to this, I feel like, is The Wrestler.
Yes. So actually, I'm gonna just interject. He I think initially wanted this to be a piece that went hand in hand with the wrestler.
I could totally see that because the wrestler feels, more like the Beth character, where it's
Mhm.
like, you know, I guess this, Beth would have had a happier ending if she were, God, I can't call it a happy ending, the wrestler, but Beth's happier version would have been to be the wrestler and to, somehow dance the ballet one more time, I guess. Um, Another movie it makes me think of by Darren Aronofsky though is The Fountain.
I've
And
never seen it.
I don't know how many people have. I can't even really describe what it's about. It takes place simultaneously in three timelines. It stars Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz, and performance-wise, they're both really fantastic. It's another movie that it makes me feel like an idiot every time I watch it because I know that there is something depthful going on here. But when I'm just watching the movie, I am like, what the hell is happening here?
Yeah.
I'm like, he is in a space bubble with a tree, but something's happening. Like literally at times it's like Hugh Jackman is in the future in space with only a tree. And I'm like, but God damn it, is Hugh Jackman really making this scene with this tree work? You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's how I felt at times. So I was like, yeah, Natalie Portman is fantastic in this movie, but I really do not care about most of what's happening. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's a particularly well written movie. I don't even know if I feel like it's a particularly well written character because I feel like why I care about Nina is because of what Natalie Portman is giving me and what I'm able to take from the clues that she and I don't know the actress that played the mother gave me.
Mhm.
I don't feel like it was written into the script these things that would give me clues about her. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm
No,
not
I
sure
don't
if you
think
would agree.
so. I think that so I have a couple of things to say. I think that the character of Nina is so I can only assume has to be in her mid 20s, right?
I
Like
think she says she's 28.
28. Okay, so that I didn't catch that at all. But she still lives with her mom who is holding her hand through everything. Her mother
Still
will
calls her
not give
mommy.
her Yep, won't give her an ounce of freedom. She is calling her all the time. She makes her breakfast. She's, "Oh, my sweet girl." It behaving in a way as if Nina were 5, 6 years old. I mean, really, really overbearing. And we never learn why. And I would have liked a little bit more context into why that I mean, we can infer, right? We can infer that the mother was a ballerina. She never made it. And Nina was her opportunity to have a second chance. And she doesn't want to lose that. There's a living vicariously through her kind of situation. But we
Yeah,
never
because
really
I think she
learn.
does say that she stopped doing ballet because she was pregnant with her.
Right, right. So, and Nina's career has come much further than her mother's ever did. That conversation happens too, but we really don't get a lot of like background on who the mother is or why this relationship is happening. We don't really know a lot about Nina. At one point, um, I think Thomas asks her if she's a virgin, and she kind of doesn't really answer. Um, we don't really get a lot of
I
information
think she
about her.
says no, that she's not a virgin, but I think the bigger takeaway is how like embarrassed she is to be talking about it too.
Yeah, right.
And there's so many weird things where and that's why I say that there is a subtext of coming of age to it and probably in a in an inappropriate way obviously because you have somebody I had seen somebody say something about that and I think it was like a theory that maybe the mother was in trigger warning, sexually abusive towards Nina. And there is an aspect where I was like, okay, maybe I can see that in the fact that like she gets the cake and Nina says she shouldn't have cake. So she's like, well, I'll throw the whole thing out then. She goes, no, don't. And she feeds her the cake on her finger, which is
Mm-hmm.
very weird. You've
Yeah.
got everything with Puma, who
Mm-hmm.
I refuse to say without sarcastically saying it, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I had seen, and it's something I'll just more in facts, but Natalie Portman say that she doesn't feel like the ending is um death. What she said was another version of the ending was that it could be symbolic of a period, which
Okay.
I found to be somewhat interesting as just another idea and a more not positive, but something different than what would seem more obvious, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So we should say, for anyone listening who hasn't seen the movie, there's definitely a seemingly inappropriate sexual relationship between Nina and Toma, who seems to try to evoke the emotion of the Black Swan by kissing her, by touching her, in a way that she's very uncomfortable with, but also um she seems to be uncomfortable with it as it's happening, but then kind of intrigued by it when she's alone. Like, she doesn't look back on it in a negative way. She's not upset with him, but she's clearly not comfortable with the advances.
yeah, it's obviously to us, the audience, immediately inappropriate that he's doing this. I mean, that's what I thought. The
Mhm.
one scene where they try and make it seem like it is part, because they do insinuate also that the previous star of the ballet, Beth, was in a sexual relationship with him too.
Mhm.
But the one scene where they try and sort of make it seem like it mattered more, or that it was, I guess, a lesson from Toma, is when he kisses her and she had just finished dancing, and he says something along the lines of like, I just seduced you. It's supposed to be the other way around, because the Black
Yes.
Swan is supposed to be seductive, alluring, and it's all these things that Nina is not. She is technical, she is graceful, she is pure, and you know, that's why every outfit she wears in the first half of
Modest.
the movie is white, and she is
Yeah.
innocent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Now, from the perspective of, again, when I was 18 and I watched this, I was an acting major and I was like, yes, that's, oh my God, I understand. She wants to be perfect and it's so hard. And there are so many people out there that want to take this from you. And it's so hard to keep your grip on reality, blah, blah, blah. Although I did think to myself, is she really becoming a swan? Um, I will say, in a totally different career, in a totally different area of my life now, even as a fitness professional, or and an athlete, it's very easy to get wrapped up, and I'm sure you feel this way in your career to maybe to a degree, um when you are looking for perfection or to be the best or to make it, so to speak, to be known, to be respected. It can be very easy to get caught up in sort of the semantics of, am I good enough, and then I'm working so hard to be this, but then they want me to also be this. And I think it's a pretty common feeling. And I think it's very easy to play the comparison game with other people, especially in my industry, when you're talking about people's bodies and what people are capable of and how much weight you can lift and what have you. So I think it kind of stands uh to be relatable no matter what industry you're in, though I do agree with you. I think the subtext is greater than the actual story that we're watching unfold.
yes, and I think it works totally outside of industry and outside of your career. I think you can relate to this if you've ever felt like, you know, if you're in school and you thought maybe I'm just not doing a good enough job as a student and you really wanted to please your teacher. If you've been in a relationship and you said, I feel like I'm letting my partner down. If you have, you know, ever felt like you wanted to impress somebody, you can probably relate to what Nina goes through in some way. Now, obviously, to a certain extent, no, you can't, because she totally loses it quite quickly, but you
Yeah.
can relate to the feeling.
Yeah.
And I will say, while I didn't love the story and I didn't love the writing, I did really like the acting, and I really, really liked, um, as we got later into the movie, the freaky imagery that would start to happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I loved
Yeah.
everything with mirrors.
Hmm.
When she would see a mirror and, she turns to the mirror at one point and she sees her reflection is like scratching the hell out of her back, and then she turns back and obviously that wasn't happening, or was it? We don't know which one is true. We see she's in the room with Beth, and then Beth is, takes a knife and Beth is hurting herself. And then we see her back in the elevator, which is a reflective surface, mirrored,
Hmm.
and she's holding the knife. So it's like, was Beth doing that or did Nina do that? We see really cool imagery to a certain point, like, people's faces just start to be Nina's face.
Yeah, she
Um,
sees herself. She also, so one
Mhm.
complaint I will make about this is that I think sometimes, so Beth, the old dancer who is forced into retirement, is played by Winona Ryder. And I think occasionally Winona Ryder's face and Natalie Portman's face are so similar that it can be hard to tell, is that Beth or is that Nina?
Did they put Nina's face over Beth's?
I think there were times when we would see, like when she's in the alley walking home and there's a woman walking toward her, and
Yeah.
then she sees, I couldn't tell if that was Beth's face or if it was Nina's
Oh no,
face.
that was Nina's face.
Okay. So she
Yeah.
sees herself all over the place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's many moments of like, oh wow, I can't believe that just happened. And then 2 minutes later, you're like, oh wait, did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think you'd be crazy. It's not like Vampire's Kiss where it was like, oh no, you should have gotten this sooner. This felt more like, well, you're clearly not supposed to be able to really tell, did that happen? Did that not happen? Unless it's something that the movie told you did not happen.
Right.
Like, the best examples I can think of are really with Lily when she's like, you slept over last night. And Lily's like, no, I didn't.
Right.
Or at the very end when she's expecting to see a pool of blood from coming from a body, and instead she lifts up the towel and there's just nothing there.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, and I found that very interesting. And there is some inspiration from a movie that I really like, The Fly. I think when she is picking out of her back, I guess it's supposed to be the start of Wings.
Mm-hmm.
But if you've ever seen The Fly, which I don't think you have,
Nope.
it's reminiscent of what Jeff Goldblum starts to go through at a point. So I found that very cool. And I was distracted from that quite quickly when all of a sudden Nina's legs snapped like twigs. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. She's getting her swan legs.
Yeah.
Have you ever read the short story Where Are You Going? Where Have You Been by Joyce Carol Oates?
It sounds really familiar, but I don't remember it right now.
It's where the 15-year-old girl is lured out of her house by like the cool kid in school, and then he turns out to be Satan.
Nope, I do not know that story. What?
Oh, it's my favorite short story in the entire world. I'm gonna send it to you. You're gonna read it. You're gonna love it. Giselle may have read it in school. But this guy is described as having pants on that look funny because it looks like his legs are like too short and thin at the bottom because he's supposed to be Satan and they're like goat's legs. So that's what that reminded me of.
Okay, well, you definitely have to send this to me, and I guess we have to look it up because this sounds very interesting to say the least.
It's so good. I actually tried to produce a film version of it when I was in college. And it never quite made it, but it's fabulous. And if you ever want to make it, I'm down.
If I ever have time, maybe.
Okay, so no.
All
right.
I was also very surprised. I guess this is the last thing I have an opinion on. I was surprised how, and I guess it's, I think I saw coming the idea of it being about like obsession or about finding her inner evil, but I didn't realize just how, I don't know much about the movie because I really don't remember much about this movie from 12 years ago besides Natalie Portman getting awards. So I was very surprised how sexual it got. And Tomas like, go home and masturbate, which again, weird thing for a boss to tell an employee.
Yeah.
But again, it showed, a weird relationship with the mother when she decides to try it and she turns over and the mom is there sleeping. And it was like, oh no, It was very gross. And I feel like there's so many times where I guess maybe the Lily character, again, I don't know if this was actually her or not. The Lily character at one point, reaches over and reaches into Natalie Portman's pants.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes with it for a second. And I'm thinking to myself, was that real? And that actually happened? And that shows how much Lily is just different from Nina? Or was that Nina doing that to herself and sort of imagining, well, what would Lily do? Or what would this person she's picturing Lily be do?
Right. Well, it lends itself to the whole, like, how much of that night that the two of them went out actually happened. Like how much of it was, did she actually drink the drink with the ecstasy in it? Or did she truly say no and end up going home? Like, we don't know where reality and Nina's imagination kind of bleed into one another.
Yeah, unless it's something another character tells us didn't happen, we really can't be sure what did or did not happen.
Yeah. The last thing I want to give my opinion on is the ending. So in the end, Nina has a vision that she stabs Lily with a piece of glass, hides her dead body, and then eventually we see Lily knock on her dressing room door to say congratulations. And that's when we, as the audience, realize that Lily is not dead, but also Nina realizes that she is not dead. She goes on to dance the final act as the White Swan. She falls off of the cliff onto a mattress, which she has rehearsed before, and we see that she is bleeding. She picks a shard of glass out of the wound. Everyone around her is like, oh my God, what happened? What do we do? Should we call an ambulance? And she slowly fades into the white light saying, I was perfect. So the question becomes, is she dead? Is that real? Is the fact that the other people around can see what happened and see the blood, does that mean that it's real? Is she imagining it? And I just hate when movies end like that. And maybe that's on me, but I want to know, is she dead? Is she alive? Is this real? I mean, Natalie Portman's talking about a period. I mean, maybe something's wrong with me, but I've never gotten my period through my abdomen before.
I think it's supposed to be lower abdomen, and I do think it's a bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
I do feel like what Darren Aronofsky is going for, which can be different from what Natalie Portman's going for, is an ambiguous ending, but also the ending that, my immediate thought was that it's her dying and that she's okay with dying because she was perfect.
Yeah.
And that she was willing to hurt herself and do whatever it took to be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was literal. When I was 18, I thought the whole thing was literal. So I think she probably, so what we have failed to talk about is the fact that throughout the movie, one of Nina's ticks is that she continues to pick at her fingers and hurt herself. And obviously that's a sign of anxiety. So I can imagine that in one of the most stressful, if not the most stressful period of her life, she may have picked up a shard of glass and stabbed herself with it.
Well, again, I do think that is what we're supposed to be told is what happened. Like, I believe that is what she did. She stabbed herself with the glass. And I only
While
say
she was imagining stabbing Lily.
Yes. I only say I believe that's what happened because we see other people react to it and go, oh my God, what did you do?
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if even, if we talked to Darren Aronofsky right now and he was like, no, that's not what happened. I'd be a little surprised by it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So those are my opinions. Anything else you want to add?
No. Are you ready to get to some facts?
I'm ready. Let's go. Shoot them off.
I want the truth!
Face the facts, ducks.
Facts have no place with an organized religion.
What should we start with? I guess let's start with who was in this movie. So obviously it starred Natalie Portman, who won Best Actress at the Academy Awards, the BAFTA Awards, the SAG Awards, which are the Screen Actors Guild. BAFTA, do you know what that is off the top of your head?
Oh, no.
I put you on the spot there. I should have written that down.
Yeah. Do you believe she deserved it? I mean, obviously, we don't know off the top of our head what the other nominees were, but do you think that her performance was Oscar worthy?
I'd have to see who else was nominated, I feel like. She also won a Saturn Award, which is the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror. I don't know if she deserved science fiction, fantasy, and horror because I guess, you can call this a psychological horror. I think Darren Aronofsky said he would, but I don't know if I would consider it that. It gets horrific at times. I do think she was definitely worthy of the award without thinking about who else was nominated.
Yeah.
I thought she was really good. I thought all of the main actors were phenomenal.
Agreed.
The reason that this movie is all noteworthy in history, I think, is because of how well the performances are done. Because I also thought Mila Kunis was fantastic.
Yeah.
And she won a Best Supporting Actress Saturn Award. And I thought the actor who played Tama was really good too.
Yeah, I agree.
The mom and Winona Ryder were good, but it's smaller roles. This also won an AFI award for Movie of the Year. AFI is the American Film Institute. As I said, this was directed by Darren Aronofsky, who also directed The Wrestler, Mother, Requiem for a Dream, which, God, these are all very unhappy movies. Somebody should check out Darren Aronofsky, man.
For real.
This was written by Mark Heyman, Andres Hines, and John J. McLaughlin, who also collectively have written The Skeleton Twins and Hitchcock, and not much else that I could find that I'd ever heard of. Like I said, it stars Natalie Portman, Mila Kunis, and obviously the movie also includes Winona Ryder, who's now known for Stranger Things, and Sebastian Stan has a tiny part in here, who is also Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier in the MCU, and he's in a bunch of things now. He was just Tommy Lee in the Netflix Hulu series, but I was surprised to see him in that tiny role.
What role was it?
Sebastian Stan, he was Jerry of the Tom and Jerry.
Okay. Oh,
So,
yes, I remember that. Okay, yes, I'm here.
moving faster through our facts here, IMDb gave this an 8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score is 84%, an average score of 4 out of 5. The tomato meter was 85%, average rating of 8.2 out of 10, 270 fresh reviews with 48 rotten. Critics' consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, bracingly intense, passionate, and wildly melodramatic. Black Swan glides on Darren Aronofsky's bold direction and a bravura performance from Natalie Portman. I may have just said bravura wrong. I don't know.
Don't point it out. It's like the defibrillator.
Well, this is also like when I need you to pronounce the French title of the birdcage.
Yeah.
Let's look at the box office here. Black Swan had a budget of $13 million. It went on to gross $329 million, $398,046. Said that in a weird way too, but it definitely made back its money and plenty more.
This movie was actually filmed at Purchase College, which is right upstate. Very, very quick drive from the city. During my ex-boyfriend's time there. What up, Scott? He actually wrote the intro music for us. How you doing?
Thank you, Scott. Let's see here. I do want to read some reviews, but let's get to some behind the scenes facts first. Again, according to, a lot of this comes from IMDb trivia. So take it all with a grain of salt. Is one of 6 horror films to be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Picture. The other 5 are The Exorcist, Jaws, Silence of the Lambs, The Sixth Sense, and Get Out. I would say all those feel more directly like horror films than this does, but I guess so.
Yeah.
There does seem to be a bit of controversy about the dance double, Sarah Lane. Have you heard about this?
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So Natalie Portman's body and dance double, Sarah Lane, made a public statement shortly before the DVD/Blu-ray release in March 2011, claiming the film's producers asked her not to conduct interviews until after the award season, so Natalie Portman would receive most of the dancing credibility. A promotional video released about the special effects used in the film was also altered, so it didn't include aspects of how Lane's face was digitally replaced with Portman's during complicated dance moves. Lane was brought in to perform. Choreographer and Portman's fiance Benjamin Millipede, I don't know if it's pronounced Millipede, but she met him on this movie, counteracted Lane's comments. It was so believable. It was fantastic. That beautiful movement quality. There are articles now talking about her dance double, Sarah Lane, that are making it sound like she did a lot of the work, but really she just did the footwork. I can't pronounce this French word. Fouettes?
Fouette.
Fouettes? Don't foot it. All
Turns.
right. And one diagonal phrase in the studio. Honestly, 85% of that movie is Natalie. Director Darren Aronofsky also debunked Lane's claims. Here's the reality. I had my editor count shots. There are 139 dance shots. 111 are Natalie Portman untouched. 28 are her dance double, Sarah Lane. If you do the math, that's 80% Natalie Portman. Then there's a funny piece of trivia. I'm sorry, real quick. The film's editor, Andrew Weissblum, has said that while editing the film, he had a difficult time telling Natalie Portman and Sarah Lane apart. So after Darren Aronofsky's like, I had him count. He's like, I don't know who's who.
That's amazing. I will say this in movies like this, I think it's great if the actors do their own dancing, whatever, but that's not what I care about. Like, that's not why I enjoyed this movie. That's not why I went to see this movie. Like, I don't give a shit who danced. It doesn't matter. That's not the point. What if you really want to talk about something that's impressive? Let's talk about the fact that Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis both lost like 30 pounds to play ballerinas.
I think they also both had body doubles to be replaced to make them appear even skinnier. But I think they both lost around 20 pounds, I think I had here.
Yikes.
So I'm going to skip past some of my facts here because I know that we're getting low on time, and skip to, the GOAT of reviewers, Roger Ebert, who gave this 3.5 stars. The tragedy of Nina and of many young performers and athletes is that perfection in one area of life has led to sacrifices in many of the others. At a young age, everything becomes focused on pleasing someone, a parent, a coach, a partner, and somehow gets wired in that the person can never be pleased. One becomes perfect in every area except for life itself.
Love that.
I also found funny the way that ends because the name of the documentary about Roger Ebert is Life Itself, I think.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Peter DeBruge from Variety, a wicked, sexy, and ultimately devastating study of a young dancer's all-consuming ambition. Now, again, I know that there's a lot of sexuality in it. I find it weird to call it sexy as a movie, but okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Michael W. Phillips Jr. from Goat Dogs Movies. Shackled by sports movie cliches, a reductive view of how creativity works, and most importantly, Natalie Portman's limitations as an actress.
Whoa.
So I try and pull, the good and bad reviews, and I was like, that is shockingly negative here.
Yeah, damn.
Julian Brandy from Autostraddle, and this is how I feel sometimes with when we come to the Academy Award seasons. What were they trying to say? What happened? You're all pretending you know what it means.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I'm so sophisticated. I loved this movie.
Gary Thompson from Philadelphia Daily News, a marathon of masochism. And Clay Kane from BET.com, this will be the last one I do here. If this is a home run, then Mommy Dearest shouldn't have damaged Faye Dunaway's career. Maybe Over the Top is the new sign of Oscar worthiness. Black Swan is an overly stylized but well-acted version of Showgirls meets Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wow. You know what? Okay.
I skipped the IMDb featured review on this one because it was just a little too long, but they gave it an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
All right, Gab, we're going to take a break from talking about Black Swan. We got to get to some mail. Can we talk about the mail?
Let's talk about the mail, baby. Here we go.
Mail time! When you control the mail, you control information.
Mom asked me to ask you if there's any mail for us here by mistake.
What?
First, let's talk about Miss Congeniality. We have a comment from Scotty Cameron.
Scotty.
First, I picked Vampire's Kiss because it was just a funny movie and I loved Cage's antics. Made it a movie to watch before you die. The unintentional comedy makes me love the film. I know it's not a particularly great movie, but having Cage act insane and have others react to it was so funny in my mind. Glad you are still thinking and talking about it to this day, which to this day, as in Gab, I think like 2 days ago, texted me still about Vampire's Kiss. Gab needed my address and she sent me a shirt. And I forgot that she had asked for my address. So I literally spent like a half hour being like, I didn't order this. What is this? Is this some kind of scam? Until I realized it's vampire's teeth on the shirt. And I was like, oh, like it took me way too long to put it together, Gab.
It is 100% a Vampire's Kiss shirt. I'm dead. It's great.
I'll amend the list to add Face Off. It's a victory nonetheless. I'll have to recommend more Nick Cage movies.
Yeah. I agree. Let's do it. Yeah, we're still talking about it. It's still, full transparency, if you're listening, today is December 7th, and I still have thought about Vampire's Kiss at least 6 times today.
You're thinking about it too much. So much so that we had to put out a bonus episode, which came out on Wednesday the 7th, which is
today.
Spoiler alert, the day that we record our this episode. Okay. So next, we have another message on Miss Congeniality from the Keen Machine.
Okay.
Greetings, Dylan and Gab. I enjoyed last week's episode. Somehow it feels like it was so long ago. Maybe that's because I listened the moment it was posted. I haven't yet listened to this bonus episode that just dropped, but looking forward to that as well. Hope you both have a lovely day and excited to see which movie will be pummeled this week. Keep it keen.
That's great. What a great word, pummeled.
There are some upcoming pummelings, I can say, from each of us in certain ways. And let me see here. We have one more thing about the bonus episode. Well, 2 more things, actually. So first, we have a comment from Scotty Cameron on the bonus episode for Let's Revisit Vampire's Kiss. Love the Trump impressions. I think this is worth a victory lap now that I have recommended a movie that you can't stop thinking about. Now you have amended your decisions. I found the movie you agree is a movie to watch before you die. Bookmarking. That would be fun to have Nicolas Cage on for the Face Off episode. Oh yeah, The Room. Now that movie is a blast, which The Room may or may not be a movie that we are going to do at some point. Perhaps we have discussed it.
It's happening. Let's not even, you don't have to tease it. It's happening.
I'm trying to tease.
Don't tease.
You're just giving it all away.
Yep.
Fine if you just want to give it away. And then we have a voice message from Scotty Cameron about this bonus episode.
Yes, let's go.
There you are. Thank you very much for that bonus episode. I'm glad that you got the movie that you both mutually agree is a movie to watch before you die. And that I'm the one who recommended it. So it's, fun. I had a lot of those same reactions in my first viewing of the movie. Largely what prompted me to watch it again, the uncensored version. But I also love this little bit.
Scotty, at first I think we both thought you were a jackass for picking this. And it turns out we were the jackasses.
We were. Not the first time.
I was just dying. Now I'll have to send both episodes to my former coworker who just loves this movie. Well, anyways, am I getting through to you, Alva?
That's great. That's great.
I like that he played a clip of us back to us. And I'm like, yeah, we were the jackasses, weren't we?
Yep, we were. But you know what? I don't want to talk. I don't want to beat this to death. These poor people that are listening to this podcast, we're limited on listenership as it is. We're a new podcast and we're only talking about the same movie over and over again. But I will say, I think it is now on my list of my favorite movies.
We've said all we need to say about Vampire's Kiss. I am going to start adding to our descriptions on, all of the platforms. I'm going to put at the bottom. I was thinking the movies to watch before you die that we have agreed upon. So the first to be on that list will be Vampire's Kiss.
I'm so happy. So excited. I love it. Scotty, thank you. You are a tremendous part of our podcast universe, and we appreciate you.
The best, the biggest, the hugest.
The hugest.
The hugest, yes.
There we go.
All right, so we're going to get back to talking about Black Swan. Thank you, Scotty. Thank you, Keen. And let's get back to it.
Here we go.
All right, so I think we should get to our verdicts.
Let's do it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
The guilty will be punished.
Sentence.
Death.
I'll go first since this was my pick.
Which you also seem to, maybe your opinion has changed. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say, actually.
Yeah, you know what? I really like this movie. I think it's good. I enjoy it for what it is, but I definitely think that it is not a movie to watch before you die. I think it has it's a good psychological thriller. I don't tend to love those movies. And I definitely enjoyed it. I think it's very relatable. I think Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis both did a phenomenal job, but it didn't haunt me the way that I remember it haunting me at 18. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one not a movie to watch before you die, but remind you that The Birdcage absolutely is.
Well, we can go back and forth on movies we think should have been movies to watch before you die. Let's not do that.
Okay, go ahead.
But I would say I don't think it's a movie to watch before you die. I think it's a brilliantly acted film. If you are somebody who loves acting, check it out. If you love any of the other Darren Aronofsky movies I named, The Fountain, The Wrestler, Requiem for a Dream, Mother, definitely watch this movie if you haven't seen it. But every one of those movies, I feel like I watch them and I'm like, I don't ever need to watch that again.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Mother, but all those other ones, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay not having seen that now.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. So having a brief amount of time left, should I talk about what we're going to do next week?
Please.
So it's a few weeks ago now by the time that this will have aired, but with Kevin Conroy, the voice actor who played Batman, just having passed, I definitely want to, and it lined up with when I wanted to do it anyway, because we're near the anniversary, I think maybe the 30th anniversary of the film's release, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It's the only movie from the DC animated universe that was released in theaters, and I am very excited to talk about it and hope that you will enjoy it as much as I will. Regardless of what you say, I'm going to be positive as hell about it, though.
I'm excited.
Good.
I do love Batman. Oh, side note, did you see the Robert Pattinson Batman?
Of course I did.
Jesus Christ. I we could talk more about it offline, but oh my God, I did not enjoy it.
Well, we can't get into that because we don't have much time, but I loved it.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Anyway, I love you no matter what. If you want to either let us know how you feel about this movie or any of the other movies that we've talked about, if you have a movie suggestion, or if you just want to let us know who you agree with, please feel free to leave us an email at movies-to-watch-before-you-die@gmail.com. Sorry.
movies-to-watch-before-you-die@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/movies-to-watch. You can just ask us, hey, Dylan, Gab, do you like this movie? And we'll tell you it's okay. That one was fine.
That seems to be our general consensus about all movies. Yeah, it was good, but I just don't think it's but that's fine. Last but not least, I would just like to remind everyone in the listening universe about the last episode where Dylan said beauty what did you say?
Pageant beauty? Something like that?
Yes.
We also got the date wrong on Miss Congeniality. We said April 23rd. It's April 25th. We're so dumb.
Oh my God. Well, we're canceled. Guys, thank you so much for listening, and we look forward to next episode.
Thanks for listening. Listen to the Batman episode.
You've been drinking.
Ding, 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 ding.
What else?
Hmm?
What else have you been doing?
Oh, you want to know their names?